Great accent, Claire.
Hmm?
Great accent.
Working on it, thank you.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
We're just waiting for everybody's to connect. I think we're almost there with everybody connecting, and then we can get going. And Claire, over to you.
Yeah, looks like we've got a whole load of our participants in, which is great. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for this Stage Parents Guide in collaboration with Holland Bloorview. I'd like to take a moment to allow the panel to introduce themselves. So can we start with Christina?
Hello, welcome. I'm Christina Collins. I've been an ACTRA member for 40 years, which is a lot. I'm the child advocate, which means I'm here to answer questions about minors. And also I frequently go on set when they're active and check on minors' safety and any concerns they might have and make sure that they're getting proper breaks. And I also, with the help of other colleagues, do a seminar for called Stage Parents Survival Guide, which is a free seminar. But I'm really thrilled to be doing this with Holland Bloorview and very excited to answer any questions.
Unmute myself. Okay, thank you, Christina. Just to go through our full panel, Christine, many of you may know, but Christine, would you also like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So I'm Christine Hill, and I think most of the people who registered today know me as the ambassador lead at Holland Bloorview. And increasingly, I am being tasked with connecting folks who are performers with disability or would like to perform on casting calls, and we're having different brands and companies, producers, writers, and directors who are reaching out to us and asking for those connections. So as most of you know, I've been reaching out to you to be included on a list of folks who might be available. And with all of that work, I also, oh, one of the participants is calling me. I have also reached out for partnerships like this one with ACTRA, so that we can make sure that all of the partners in the industry are on the same page. And this felt like an important step, so that those of you who are interested can learn more about ACTRA and about your rights and protections for your kids in the industry. So thanks for coming.
Okay, and Sandra Gillis. Hello.
Hello, I'm Sandra Gillis. I am an agent and manager of Premier Artist Management. I'm also the president of the Talent and Managers Association of Canada. I sit on many boards, and I love being part of these types of panels. I've been in the industry for over 25 years and have been on many, many sets and have shown up when the agent needs to be on set, on my way calling ACTRA to also be on their way so we could be there together. So it's a pleasure being here on the panel with everyone, and feel free to ask any questions if you have any.
Okay, and last but not least, George.
Hello, everyone. My name is George Alavizos, and I am an ACTRA Toronto member. I became an ACTRA member back in 2019 when I graduated from a professional training program. I booked a commercial, and I'm an actor in a wheelchair. And I'm the first ever actor in a wheelchair to ever graduate from any professional training program in the country. I am here to help navigate the tough world of acting. And I know that could be quite intimidating for a lot of people that are entering who have a disability because there isn't a lot of representation, but it is getting a lot better. and hopefully we can continue the big fight. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. And I realized I forgot to introduce myself. My name's Claire Johnston. I'm a staff member at ACTRA Toronto. I work with Christina as our child advocate on minors issues. And day to day, like I work with our staff team here to ensure that anybody who is working on one of our sets is being treated fairly and properly, and so forth. I just wanted to let all the participants know that we have, there's a Q&A facility on this Zoom call. So if you have any questions, then we can, you can access that at the bottom. I see Alistair's already actually put that in the chat. Christina, we were sort of like putting together that agenda the other day. Should we just run down where we're going to start with this? Oh, unmute rather.
Sorry, the space bar wasn't working. Yes. Well, we usually talk about who we are as ACTRA. We're the union that represents all actors in Canada except for BC, which has another union, and there's also a union in Quebec. Who wants to say it in French? Because I'm not very good with that accent. Claire, can you say?
What, the ACUPM?
Yes, thank you.
No, the Union des Artistes.
Oh,
Union
okay.
des
Oh,
Artistes.
okay, sorry.
Oh, from above, yes.
Okay.
So our job mainly is to, Claire's and my job, as she already stated, is to make sure the minors are being treated fairly and following the rules that are now actual laws in our government. Acting is the only legal, that I know of, occupation that minors can have in North America. So because they're on a set with adults and they're working in an adult world, we've really managed, people before me have really managed to make it known to the government that even if you're not under the umbrella of ACTRA, you're non-union, you still have rights. And Claire and I are here to discuss any of those, whether it be your tutoring on set, your breaks on set, when your pumpkin hour is up, which means certain ages can stay on set longer than other ages, and the necessity for chaperone. Sorry, I just got a note that popped up. Claire, do you want to add anything to what ACTRA does?
No, I think, I mean, in terms of young people working, I think that sort of covers it. It is, we do have a special permission because, you know, child labor is illegal in this country. So the acting profession is unique, both stage and film and TV performance. We have worked long and hard with the government, you know, at all levels to ensure that, you know, any of the sort of negative aspects of that are as much as possible things that we anticipate and avoid happening to young people, because we want this to be a really positive experience. There are many young performers who have gone on and into adult performers and who are, you know, and who have made that graduation because of the really great experiences that they've had as young people. So yeah, we really try and make sure that it's always a positive experience. And there are lots of situations that people come across, like, you know, missing school because, you know, shooting tends to happen through the week. So, oh, hi, oh, Christine, you're many people. But, you know, so to make sure that, you know, if you're missing school, then you're not missing out on schooling and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Claire, there's a question. Should we, it's a rather lengthy question. So instead of typing it, should we just answer it? Do you see it? How do we sign our child up for ACTRA? That's a great question. You need to have an agent first and foremost, but you start as a non-union member. That doesn't mean you can't go out for union work. ACTRA has to ACTRA Toronto is typing an answer. You just. Oh, he's opened the questions so everyone can see them. Great. So basically, once you have a legitimate agent, and we'll talk about that, Sandra can address that, I'm sure. You will go out for actual ACTRA parts, even though you're non-union. They will first see a certain amount of union members because that's what we fought for. But very often, a non-union member will get a union gig. That makes you then a ACTRA apprentice, which means you have to purchase an ACTRA permit. Those permits, once you have 3, so you've done 3 ACTRA gigs, you are invited to join full union membership. And keep in mind, anything that you paid for those permits would be deducted from the full membership. Full membership, I just want to add, gives you all the stuff that Claire and I have just talked about. Claire is going to say clarified, but it sounded a little redundant. Claire and I clarified that we protect you on a lot of levels. Not only that, we also afford you the ability to build an RRSP, because once you're an ACTRA member, the producers add 3% of your salary every time you work. That's pretty wonderful. My son started when he was 3 weeks old, so he's had an RRSP since then, and he hasn't stopped working since he started. It also gives you, once you get to a certain tier, you get medical benefits, which cover dental and prescription and massage and all kinds of therapies, which I think is really fantastic. You're also, as a full member, you're invited to many different seminars that are free, that we have all through the year to try to engage our union and teach them skills that they might not have access to, like how to do home recordings or how to do a self-tape or a voice recording at home and what you need and that kind of thing. I think I answered everything about joining.
Yep.
Yes,
I
George.
was, oh,
sorry.
okay. Sorry, yeah, George?
Very quickly, I want to add, like, if you graduate from a professional training program in university or in college, you can also get a credit towards your full membership for ACTRA once you graduate. So when I graduated from U of T in Sheridan, I got a credit, and then I got another credit with another job that I did, and then I only needed 1 more credit to become a full member.
That's right.
You can actually take that route too, if you want to go the training route and then get a credit.
George, I teach at Humber College. That's a 2-year program, and they give the diploma. Yeah. I mean, with the diploma, they give that chip.
Yeah.
Okay. Sandra, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that process. So for, I think many of the parents here, the idea of getting an agent is like getting a ticket to fly to the moon. How does one start on that process? What should people be looking for in their agent?
I think that the most important thing is making sure that you have the right things to put together to be able to present to an agent. You know, a lot of times I get an email from a 15-year-old girl saying, hey, I want to get in the business. That's not appropriate. You need to have an adult, you know, submit that to an agent. It should include a proper picture. Doesn't mean that you have to have a picture by a professional photographer, just something that we can see what you look like, a little bit about you, maybe a little bio, a cover letter, you know, talking about yourself, who you are, you know, any classes that you might have taken. If you do have a resume of any sort, whether or not you've done a commercial or a short or a film, that would be great to put together to send off as well. And I think that a lot of agents nowadays, they love to have a little video, just something to show, you know, it all depends on where you are in your career. If you're just starting off, sometimes just having a monologue that your parent or your friend or your cousin or whoever lives with you during these COVID times can put a little video together of yourself doing a little monologue or a set of sides, which is lines from a script, just something very simple, and put yourself on tape and send us the link. Links can be something like WeTransfer, Hightail, or even a Google Drive. Something that just shows us what you look like and how you would perform. Based on that, an agent would look at it and say, oh, this is somebody that I really would love to bring in for a meeting. Physically, we can't do it anymore, but we are doing Zoom meetings, a lot of agents right now. You know, this is what I look for. I love to see people that have been trained, somebody who has passion, somebody who is very much ready to get started and is excited. And those are the really, really wonderful things that I look for. Really simple picture, something, a little resume if you have one, a cover letter. Sometimes it's great to know that you've done your research on the agent that you're reaching out to. So, hey, Sandra, you know, you spelling my name right. Premier Artist is spelt right. The resume, there's no spelling errors. Sometimes I get cover letters and it's all full of grammar issues. And I just sit there going, come on, guys, just take your time, put a proper cover letter together and send that off. But getting to know who I am too. Look me up. Who do I represent? Is there somebody on my roster that you love, that you could say, oh my God, I love this person's career, what you've done with them. Just sort of just, you know, just to know that you've done your research. But then it goes from there. Like if you get called in for a Zoom meeting, we'll go from there. Most agents work the same way, and then we'll go further. Does that help? Yeah. Okay.
We have more questions here.
Sandra, just a really quick question. What was
Yeah.
the one you said? WeTransfer, Google Drive, and something else?
Hightail.
Hightail, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
They're all free, by the way, all free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so there's a question from Graham here. So I'm an 18-year-old who just graduated from high school and I have the physical disability Erb's palsy. I've always loved acting and drama throughout high school and I really want to pursue a career in it. Is ACTRA something that would help me find work with my disability? So I think that George and Christina, as the working actors on the panel here, can attest to the challenges that face any performer about finding work. George, yeah.
Yeah. So ACTRA, like they're definitely there to help support you. But for the most part, work comes from your agent or from you applying for a job. If you
Sorry, I want to go in there and say we don't supply work. We provide opportunities.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to say we don't get the work for you. You have to do that.
Yeah, they will provide the opportunity to get you into the room, and then your job as the actor is to go and book the job. And it can come from your agent. If you don't have an agent, you can find work. Sometimes if you join like a casting house on Facebook or whatever, a lot of the time they will post if they're looking for an actor for a role, for a commercial or whatever. And that was actually how I got my first ever job. I didn't even have an agent, and I applied for a Hallmark commercial and I ended up getting it. And that was back in my second year. So like, you never know what you have to like find that, but like ACTRA is there to help support you as part of the union. But really you are the entity, like you are the actor going out there and trying to find the opportunity with the help from your agent if you have one.
Yeah. Christina?
Yes, I'll just clarify and reiterate what George said. ACTRA isn't there to get you work. ACTRA is the union that helps you once you book. To get an agent, it's a very, I'm not going to lie, it's a very, very difficult, what do I want to say? Competitive, sorry, my mind. Competitive profession. However, the more edge you have, like George said, do things outside. Mandy.com is a one site you can go to and audition for student films. and build your resume and your experience that way. Also, as Sandra mentioned, and I'm a teacher, training. An agent, I think, wants to know that when you send your package that Sandra described, they want to see passion, but they also want to see that you're committed. You're not just didn't wake up in the morning and go, hey, I think I'll be an actor. They want to see that you're committed. And the way they'll see that is a trail of classes, perhaps, or student films, or even films you've made yourself that you send them a clip of, a little tiny clip. That's what they want to see. Most agents are not going to just have you walk in off the street and say, get me work. And you can't really solicit on your own. You do need an agent unless it's on Mandy.com, and maybe George knows some other sites that you can go to. And be very careful about any of those, really vet it out. I always tell my students, vet it out. You've got Dr. Google, you can look things up. But also, if you have to go to an audition when we could go physically before COVID, take someone with you, take a parent.
Always.
Always. Don't ever go alone. I'm not saying that these Mandy.com I've never had problems with, but even so, it just makes sense to take somebody with you who is a little bit older. There have been scams, and we can talk about the different scams. There's many of them that make me very angry. Parents end up spending tons and tons of money for so-called auditions for Disney or something, and they're not real. No. You get an audition through an agent, or you can do some non-union work on Mandy.com, for instance, but don't solicit on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Christine?
I just wanted to mention too that we have curated a list that we're adding to every day of performers with disability that we are making available to those people who have signed the Dear Everybody agreement and are asking for it with your permission to share your contact information, and agent or not. Some of the people on the list have an agent, and that would be whoever was managing the project, that would be who they'd contact. But if you don't have an agent, they would contact you or your family representative directly. So there's that resource too, and we can connect about that after, Graham.
Okay. And I was going to add that in addition to, trying to ensuring that you have, a safe and positive working environment, and that producers are playing by the rules when you're employed, part of our work is also outreach. In less COVID-y times, we would be going down to LA and meeting with producers and the studios there to say, come to Canada, come to Toronto. We've got really wonderful people here that you want to work with, that you want to put on screen. And we are constantly striving with our performers to show producers that we are able to provide them with all the people to populate a real environment. So we have members who are culturally diverse, physically diverse, and we can give that production, that film, authenticity by having real people in their show who represent the characters that they are playing with their truth. Okay, George, you had were you waving? Okay.
And yeah, and I want to add on to, like, formal training can really help with creating any connection with anybody in the industry. I feel like because I graduated from a professional program, I was being taught by people in the faculty who are in fact a working actor or a working director or a working whatever. And a lot of the time, they would help you connect with more people in the industry, especially in your final year of training. And then after that, you kind of have a better opportunity to kind of know where to take your career. And if you have any questions, you can always contact ACTRA. But I thought that because before my training program, I had no idea how to navigate anything. And because I went to college for it, I had a better understanding of, like, kind of the nature of the industry and how competitive it can be, and how to kind of have an edge, and how to kind of promote and market yourself as an actor. There's a lot that kind of goes with it. And I think that that kind of helped shape the actor that I am today.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, Christine.
I was just wondering if Claire or Christina, if you might have a list of resources available for what sort of training might be available for minors, and if that's something we could share after the fact, or I could share with.
I teach at an academy. I teach 7-year-olds up to 60-year-olds. Not in all the same class, by the way. And some of them have a lot, I'm very proud of some of them. They've got huge success, and I teach at a certain school, but I usually send people several schools in the area so that it's not like I'm self-promoting myself. I do say this is the one I teach at, but there are other wonderful ones too. And I list Second City. I'm at the Toronto Acting for Film and Television. There's Bongo Productions for minors. And there's a few more, Armstrong Studios. So I can put a list together if they contact me through the Child Advocate email, which a lot of them already have. You can ask me those specific questions, and also I can supply. ACTRA has a really great agent directory that they have, so you can look through the different agents out there.
Yeah, I was just looking. We did at one time have not for minors, but for our Young Emerging Artists Assembly, who are, performers who are 18 and up, but who play kind of 17 to 30 age range. They did have an audit of classes which they had attended, which was not, it's not a sort of a formally ACTRA sanctioned list of these are the classes you should go to, but just, hey, I went to this class and here was my experience. Here's what I found was useful at that class. And I'm just trying to find the link, but I don't know if it's still up.
Well, maybe if you can get your hands on it later,
I will share.
I can follow up and send that to our attendees.
But as well, classes, any kind of like local, sort of like, what used to be the after school drama clubs and that kind of thing, which many of whom have, dealt with COVID and are doing stuff online. It's there are, classes that just give you that confidence of kind of coming forward and speaking, like, delivering your dialogue, or stuff like improv that can be really useful for, the audition process, because if you go to an audition, everything in my head is still an in-person thing. But if you're doing a Zoom audition and the casting, you prepared your part and you deliver your lines, and then the casting director says, okay, now could you try doing it? And they'll give you a switch, and doing something like improv is really great because it helps you to train those muscles for thinking quickly and responding to a request, which is a lot of what you'll find in auditions. If a casting director asks you to do something differently, it's not so much that they didn't like where you came from, but just they want to show that you can take direction, which is a really important thing for a director to see, that if they're going to give you an instruction, then that you can absorb that and incorporate it into your performance. Mm-hmm. Christina, I'll shut up.
I was just going to say, in any good training program, there's always on camera, and I'm speaking for several, including mine, and improv, because you have to stay open and available. I've heard directors, when I've been in the room as a reader, for instance, say they're locked. They've locked in a performance. I can't play with them. So that's another part of the training, is learning to be, like I would say something like, do it like an accountant, do it like you're talking to a 2-year-old, do it this, so that you loosen up. It's very important. And not only in the audition room is improv important. I've been on sets where directors will literally come up to me and go, I'm not too keen on you being right on the lines. Feel free to improvise a little. And you should have that in your background. I'm sure it's George, you got it at Sheridan. We teach it at Humber. I teach it at TAA. Yeah, always have that. It's a good muscle, and it's all muscles that we have to keep. I still take classes. So does my husband. We've got to keep the muscle strong. Mm-hmm. Sandra.
Claire, I just wanted to add, just going back to the list of acting schools and that sort of stuff. TAMAC, as well as ACTRA, ACTRA's spearheading this. We actually have something in the works right now. We have our third meeting, I think it is, at the beginning of February. It's called the Guide to Acting Coaches and Educators. And that's going to be coming out in a little while. We have the draft already. Well, ACTRA has put through the draft. We'll be going through it with the fine-tuned comb and just making sure everything looks good. But that should be coming out sometime in February, hopefully. All depends on what goes on with legal. But it is going to be a really great resource. And so I'm looking forward actually to seeing the final. But that will be available. I'm not sure when. Maybe Alistair maybe will chime in sometime. But yeah, that's...
But we can share that with Christine once it comes out.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, should we go to the next question here? This is from Lisa. My son's former agent suggested that we do not join ACTRA because he would get more non-union work as an actor with a disability. Is that really true?
Oh my God, really?
Want to join it?
Okay, let me just say that I'm totally shocked by that because I'm an agent that if you get your first permit, you are joined to ACTRA. Like especially as a child, the benefits of being an ACTRA member outweighs being a non-union member. There's so many protections that are put in place by ACTRA. I'm just flabbergasted at that. Like, I just don't understand. I mean, what kind of agent would be, maybe they weren't a member of TAMAC. Maybe it's somebody who's just thinking about money, not the protection of this child. But for me, that is shocking. Sorry.
Can I add to that? Okay, this is what I tell my students, especially at Humber, who are about to graduate and get that wonderful chit to become an apprentice. And they have a certain amount of days to do it. And a lot of them are on the fence. They go, oh, but shouldn't I stay non-union because I'll get more work? Look, very simple. If you're non-union, they can pay you whatever they want. They can pay you $50 for a 12-hour day. They might give you a piece of pizza. They don't need to give you any, they don't need to take care of you in any other way. And then they have your image forever. With ACTRA, we are taken care of, we're fed, we're paid a good wage with our RSP donations, and we're taken care of, i.e. we're fed, we're provided warm areas with seats. I've had young students of mine who did a commercial one time in the cold. They were outside, their parents were in cars. ACTRA, we insist the parent has to be in view at all times for the child, unless it's absolutely impossible because they're shooting in a small space. Then the parent isn't where the monitor is, and the child has a tell. They can do this or something on the monitor that says, Mommy or Daddy, I'm not comfortable with this. Non-union, none of that protection for our students. And these 7 to 9-year-olds that did this non-union thing, they were so excited. What they got was a Cineplex free ticket. They were there 12 hours. They were fed barely anything. They were freezing. And one girl had to go spinning around on they were in a playground, one of those, whatever. And she was physically sick. Also, there was bullying in it, and they weren't told. It was a real dog's breakfast. And I use it as an example of not all non-union shoots are like that. I'm not going to, poo-poo on all of them, but there's no guarantee. An ACTRA member, there's a guarantee. And I don't know why any reputable agent would not want their child to strive for that. They also don't have to tutor you. So you lose school. And let me tell you, tutoring is amazing. I mean, my son was on a series for 2 years, and the tutoring, he got the same curriculum as he would in school, but one-on-one. So every kid I've ever met on set are really smart because the tutoring is exceptional. That's under ACTRA though. So I get a little passionate about
Me too.
this.
Me too.
Yeah. No, I know it's good to note that, a lot of the, the concerns that we had with non-union sets, we actually built those into the Protecting Child Performers Act, which is in effect in Ontario. So, but what the big difference for us is that we don't have the power to go onto a non-union set and say, you're not doing tutoring, you're not paying these people properly, because I have no knowledge of a non-union set. I think that for Lisa's question in particular, I think I hear the same thing from new and emerging performers, whether they have disabilities or are, are fully able-bodied, but it's the same thing. An agent may often, some agents may often say, oh, you've got to build up a resume and get some work, do all of this non-union work before you go and join the union. It's, I mean, and it's, while I don't dismiss their expertise in dealing with their client group, there are an awful lot of the protections that we do have in place for minors, which I think are really important. So there are some we haven't touched on yet. So as Christina mentioned there about you get your pension. So on every job you do, the producer puts a chunk of money into an RSP and into a benefits plan. And as a full member, so you've got that RSP building up. Also under the ACTRA agreements, you have one of our statements is the performer always owns their performance. And that's why if you've heard about royalties or residuals, if that movie you were in keeps showing on TV every Christmas, then that broadcaster is paying the producer to air that production. And our members get, a chunk of money back from every sale that gets made. If you're in a TV show that's selling all around the world, then every time that production sells, there's money coming back through ACTRA, and that's getting shared between the performers. So that's another way. And those little bits of money, and they might seem small, but we have older performers who are perhaps not actively performing now, but they've got those residual checks coming in and keeping them keeping them comfortable in their old age. And it's something that they've built up that body of work that is now keeping them, which is really great.
There's more to her question.
Oh my, okay, so you had 2 credits that are now expired. I don't want to ask you which agent it was, but I am very curious. Lisa, I think I've got your email address. I will contact you after this session and we can have a discussion about that. But that does, we've talked about, oh, you get your credit, you can join as an apprentice, but we should just explain that as well. So when you get that first job, or not the first job in Lisa's case, as an ACTRA member, you have 6 weeks to decide if you want to join ACTRA. So you have that qualifying credit. And then if you choose to become an apprentice member within a 6-week period, then you join as an apprentice. As long as you keep your apprentice membership in good standing, then that credit counts. And then you build up, as George said, 3 credits, and then you can join as a full member. But once you are an apprentice, if it's a matter of getting into auditions and having a union production see you and do their preference of engagement for ACTRA members, as an apprentice, you're an ACTRA member. And we would say that production should be pushing you to the front of the queue ahead of other performers who are not union yet. Sorry, Christina.
Yeah, it is confusing, but once you get your first credit, and you've had 2, like Claire said, you are invited to join as an apprentice, and there's a due fee. I think it's $75 a year, which is tax deductible against your income. And they will never expire as long as you maintain those dues. So that's too bad, but I'm sure, Lisa, you will have some more discussion with Claire.
I think I have a bit of a question here because I've been fielding the calls from, whether it be a brand or a marketing firm or even, you know, film creator who are asking to be connected to people with disability. And sometimes they'll say they're looking for non-union. So is that a case where that's something I just shouldn't even look at? Or would it be considered an opportunity for someone to get their apprenticeship credit?
If it's a non-union production, then it would not qualify that performer
For
to
a credit.
ACTRA because it's not an ACTRA contract. It would have to be an ACTRA contract in order to enable them to qualify.
Okay.
But you know, there is non-union production out there, and that's, you know, the situation. If that production is already committed to being non-union, then they're, you know, at least not trying to hire an ACTRA member on a non-union contract, which would be a conflict for our members.
Right. Okay. Just trying to determine how best to navigate those requests.
Okay.
It is a difficult decision, and there are a lot of people I know at Humber who come in and talk, some casting directors who talk to our students. We have a lot of different people come in and talk to the students to educate them on different things. And, you know, I tell them all, I teach a business class in acting, and I tell my business class, take notes, but in the end, you've got to take all the information and make the best decision for yourself. But there will be casting directors out there that do predominantly non-union commercials, let's say, and they push, they advocate for students to stay out of the union with that carrot in front of them saying, you'll get more gigs and you'll be able to build your resume. However, when I brought in alumni as a panelist for my business class as well, they will say, some of them decided not to, and some of them decided to take up that chit that they were given, that credit from the diploma. But others said, if I go for an ACTRA audition and I get it, why the heck would I look back? Like, you know, so that kind of solves it too. So in other words, Christine, I would say to them, yeah, you know, if you want to get get a little bit of experience on set, and of course this is a huge networking industry, so I always tell my students as well, you know, that the director that's directing you in your commercial audition for Tim Hortons doesn't want to be a commercial director. Every time I've worked with a director, I've moved on if you know, we develop a relationship and done films with them or pilots. They get to know you and they trust you. They know that you're going to show up, you're going to be on time, you're going to know your lines. It's a way to network, plus it's experience on set. So every experience is great. But once you get that gift of an ACTRA job, I don't see why you wouldn't pursue going forward. You're also going to work with people that are more professional and will remember you again. And like I say, the network builds. People remember. It's an insular business in that sense. Directors remember whether you can bring it or not, you know. And it's a social business too. So if you work well with them, you're going to make connections. It will always
it's the old
come back
who you
to,
know,
yeah.
you know, and who's seen you.
Well,
And yeah, no, I
yeah.
appreciate that
Yeah.
honesty.
Yeah, can I add something to that too as well? Lately, a lot of casting directors, well, they have been in the past as well, but going forward with some of the greatest casting directors in Toronto, a lot of them require you to be an ACTRA apprentice or an ACTRA member prior to auditioning anyway. So it has been harder and harder to get ACTRA permits. Claire, I'm sure you can attest to that. Because in the IPA, which is the producers agreement with ACTRA, it states in there that first right should go to an ACTRA member. And I think that it's really important to remember that if you do have an opportunity to become an apprentice or become a full member, I would take that on. I would definitely, I'm going to echo everybody talking about it. It's so important to show how professional you are, how serious you are, that you want to be part of this wonderful profession. And it's a lot of work. And why not get in, you know, running when you can? But again, the casting directors are looking for people who want to be professional, who want to show that they're professional, that they're excited about being part of a union that follows these rules and guidelines. And so I would always say, I recommend joining at the first moment that you have the opportunity to.
Oh, yes, George?
Yeah, very quickly too. I want to echo with everybody that, you know, if you want to go far in your career, eventually you're going to have to join the union, because unfortunately, a lot of the time, any big name production, any big name film, television show, commercial, whatever, it's probably going to be union. And very you're not going to go far with doing only non-union work, unfortunately. So I would definitely take it. And on top of that too, when I joined ACTRA, I was able to join Equity, which is the live theater union. And because I'm a theater actor as well as film and TV, I was able to join Equity, and now I have preferred engagement with an Equity contract. And now I'm able to work with major theater companies in Ontario or abroad. And I have been able to do that. So if you're interested in doing live theater too, it's really great when they look on your resume and they see that you're an ACTRA and an Equity member. So, yeah.
Yeah, Christina used the word networking before, and I think that's an important point. We do have that reciprocal agreement, which means that, you know, we have a sort of a, you know, hands across the water with Equity, so that we recognize, you know, a theatre actor as a professional actor, and Equity recognizes ACTRA members as professional film and TV actors. So that our two unions, if you've only worked in film and TV up until now, but there's an opportunity in theatre, they will go, oh yeah, you're a professional actor already though, so you can sort of go straight to joining. We also have an agreement with SAG-AFTRA, which is the US union. So all of the big US stars that you sometimes see in the gossip pages who are shooting in town, you know, they are members of SAG-AFTRA, and when they're working here, they have to work on a union production, because that's our agreement with SAG, that their members won't come here and do non-union work. So that's the great thing. So like George has done a number of like the sort of like big US TV shows. And he's had the opportunity to work with you know, some of those kind of, you know, more recognizable US performers, but that's because they couldn't come here and do a non-union show. So, you know, if you're, you know, and that's great. And that's also getting, you know, our members an opportunity to work with other great performers. And that's often like everyone's game gets better when you're playing off somebody who's a really great performer. So that's the other advantage as well. That, you know, as Christina indicated, you know, there are some great non-union shows out there and some great non-union performers, but it's a bit of a mixed bag. Okay. Are there any other questions from anyone?
I've got one. So in case it's a bit of an elephant in the room, what is the fee to be a member of ACTRA? If you've got your 3 credits and you're becoming a full member, what does that cost?
Okay, I can walk you through that. So, so as we said, when you sort of go from having no ACTRA credits to your first ACTRA credit, there's a cost for having a work permit to work on the ACTRA contract. So depending on the depending on what size of role it is, if it's like a 2-line role versus like a major lead role, it's either 210 for the permit or 260 under the film and TV agreement. The rates are different for commercials. And I think Sandra may be able to chime in on that one because I can't quote commercial rates. It's all on our website as well, though. The rates are all there. So you get your 3 credits. Let's say you get 3 actor roles or 3 weeks in an actor role on one movie, which is really the golden ticket. So you've paid 3 weeks at $210 for each week. So that's $630. The total initiation fee to become a full member is $1,600, but that $630 gets deducted from the $1,600, so that would leave you with another $970. And then full members of ACTRA pay $195 each year in their annual dues. So when you join as a full member, it's the $1,600 minus the permits plus the $195. Just to add another element to that, the $195 is an annual fee, which goes from the 1st of March to the end of February. That's our financial year. And if you joined in the middle of that year, then the $195 is prorated because the full members' invoices all go out with a 1st of March due date.
Okay, so just to be clear, thank you for that. If someone here secured a role that was for which they would be earning 1 credit, would they need to secure a work permit through ACTRA for that work?
So if they're in a speaking part on a union production, they would need a work permit to begin. So that would be 1 credit. And then as Christina mentioned, if it's just that 1 credit and you want to use that to start your ACTRA membership, you join as an apprentice, and that's $75 per year. But as I said, once you're an apprentice, that puts you to the front of the queue when there's for the next audition.
Yeah, I see. And does it ever happen that like a producer or the production company for whatever the project was might cover that work permit fee?
Yeah, that happens. We have a number of producers who, especially if there is some element of specialist casting, or if they've had to, if there's, something that we don't have within our membership, we've had producers come forward and say, yeah, we will pay that.
Yes.
Because we need to get this person. Yeah, Christina?
Yes, I had a student who auditioned for a recurring role on Grand Army, which was a new series that was on Netflix. And she was non-union, but she had 3, 4, I think 5 different callbacks that I coached her on. And she finally did get it. And she did negotiate to get her full membership with the producers. That's pretty rare though. But I will say to you that when my son got his first commercial at 3 weeks old, his agent covered the cost of the permit and then took it out of the salary he made on the commercial.
I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I tell my young students who are young and don't have, especially the college level ones that might be really broke. I know I was when I was in university. I say to them, just get the job. Don't worry. If you have a good agent, and I steer them towards good agents, I'm sure you can negotiate that they float it for you. And then you'll get the pay, which is still going to be really great, even after they take their percentage and take that back for covering you for your permit.
Yeah.
So, because some of them freak out about that. They go, how much does a permit cost? I can't afford it. Don't sweat that. Just worry about getting the job.
I just wouldn't want it to be yet another barrier,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the permits for ACTRA commercials are the big ones. They're the ones that cost the most, but sometimes they will cover. Sometimes if your agent negotiates with the producer of the commercial, they will cover the cost of the permit, but then take it off of the actual session fee. So sometimes it does work out that way. It's rare, but it does happen, especially for children or specialty. Things that they're really looking for that they can't find, like Claire had mentioned.
Yeah. And we will always work, but because you are supposed to have that permit in place before you go on set, then we will be working with the production saying, okay, what are you going to do about this as well? Like it doesn't just all land on the performer, or in the case of young performer, on their parent. Yeah, Christina?
Claire, just on that, just because I want to be able to tell my students in my business class, due to COVID now, you used to have to go to the offices to get the permit. Am I right, physically?
You didn't have to. It could all be done online before.
Oh, okay.
Certainly,
Okay.
it is all done online right now.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I always want to give them the right information. Okay.
Yeah. So
do you guys still have fax machines?
I do.
Yeah, actually.
Well, mainly it's so I can scan, Sandra.
Yeah,
I don't always fax.
Yeah.
I mainly use it for my accounting.
Yeah.
But I scan. It's a scanner, so, and a printer, so.
Yeah, I want to make a comment here. You guys have it so lucky, these guys. Back in the day, I have to tell you, when I first started, everything was faxed. There was no computers. There was pulling of pictures and resumes. We had to type everything in as agents.
I used to work at the place that generated and then delivered the breakdowns.
What was it? RDO and
breakdown
CSA.
Yeah, I used to listen to the casting director's thing, type in the breakdown, make 1,000 copies, put
RDO.
I worked there till 3 in the morning, and I had to physically go and pick up my sides. And I remember when fax machines came out, this is how old I am.
Thermal paper.
I was at core group, and I said, do you think I should get a fax machine? And she said, yes. You don't have to drive here every time you get an audition.
No, seriously, you had to. And then we had to pull pictures and resumes of all the actors and have those packages ready for these 2 services that would come and pick it up before 11. So you had to be there and pull all of these out. And they were delivered to this one place, and then it was sorted out by whoever the breakdowns were. And then we had another service at the end of the month called Saving Face that would go and pick up all these pictures and resumes for each individual agency, and they would be delivered for a service fee. So we could start the whole process of, again, we'd have to pay someone to take out the staple. We had to update resumes by typing it in. There was no computers. And
you also had to make a VHS tape.
Oh my God. And there was no editing. So you couldn't screw up. You had to do it the one take. Like you had to make sure you were ready. And the VHS, it wasn't like the cameras today. It was like you put the VHS into this camera that was about this size big, right? Oh my God.
You can hear it. You could hear it.
Yeah. I also tell them, when they'll say, they'll have a line and they'll have a word that they don't understand. And the little kids, there's a line say, they're not going to give you that machete no matter how much you beg. And none of them knew how to say it or what it was. And I said, if your character knows it, you know it. So you have to look it up. I'd have to get the book out and look up, they can go on Dr. Google and bada bing, bada boom.
Oh yeah, you can't do that now. I had this big dictionary and thesaurus that was on my desk.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I had the IPA, the NCA, all big books. Back in the day, they were huge, right? And they also had the picture books online that ACTRA used to print
face to face.
Yes,
that's it. Yes. Oh my God.
Everybody had their picture in there, which agency they were with, and their resume almost like on this thing. And it was all printed off. So we had it in our waiting room all the time when people came up to pick up their fax sides. And all the actors would sit around and talk. And that's where that's where the fun was, right? Nowadays,
absolutely.
Yeah. Face to face reminds me that I just wanted to talk about our databases as well. So for our members, and as part of our push to ensure that producers and casting directors know about the broad range of talent that we have available, we have these databases. They're not casting databases so much, but they are the online equivalent of the big book that had everyone's photo in. And so for our members, we have ACTRA Online, We also have specialist ones. So there's stunts, there's voice performers, there's background performers if you're interested in doing extra work rather than speaking parts. And there's diversity as well, which diversity.actraonline.ca, which is the specialized database for performers who identify as having cultural diversity or physical diversity. And the members themselves can update their materials. They can put up, like a fresh headshot. They can put their demo reel in there. So there's a little video clip if a producer goes looking, and what shows they've worked on recently. And also it links to their agent's web address or phone number. So that a casting director saying, I need somebody who is, this height, this hair color, and can do unicycling. And then they can put in those search criteria, find everyone who fits those criteria and look them through. And this used to be a binder that was so big I could barely carry it. But so it's great to have that online, but it's also great that rather than us publishing this thing constantly, it's the members themselves who can go in and update their material. So it's like, hey, I just did this improv class. So I'm going to add to my education that I've done improv. And then the next casting director who comes along and you fit the bill, if there's a particular type they're looking for and that's you, then your info is there. Okay, sorry, Christina, you were waving.
I was going to say casting workbook, you don't have to have representation to be on it. So you can put yourself as non-represented and and they will, you can put all that stuff on there as, there's a fee for it. I'm going to mute myself now because somebody's being louder than me.
There's also, casting workbook as well as Actors Access. Both are free to go on there, and there are sometimes there's submission requests as well, and they do have, especially on Actors Access, they have a little bit more variety when it comes to non-union if people are just starting out. In regards to ACTRA as well, they have a voice database as well, so anyone who does voice work that could put their demo up there, and they're building, it's a really great place for people to go and look for voiceover actors.
Yeah, I was going to say, certainly during COVID, we've had an awful, well, not an awful, a tremendous increase in audiobook recordings that we've been doing, which has been great, just as part of the whole push for more content. So our voice actors have had a real boon time. Yeah. Okay, just checking the Q&A. We should talk about minors' trust and some of the other protections for minors. Okay. Do you still have barking, Christina, or can you? Okay, you're muted. There you are.
Yes, it's great. It's a wonderful thing. After your minor makes $5,000, they start to feed into a minor's trust. It takes 25% of their salary and puts it in a trust fund, which they get access to at 18. Now, just to explain to you how important this is and how it works, is that let's say there was a show that my son Eddie and I did, and we worked the same and we had the same pay. My check was way higher because after I paid my agent, I got the rest. He was like, why is mine so low? Well, he had to pay his agent and put 25% into his minor's trust. However, when he became 18, it's all, as any trust fund, it goes up and down with the stock market and everything. But because he started it at 3 weeks old, he had quite a lovely trust fund that he was able to access at 18. Helped a lot with his university, where he majored in theater and minored in smoking and drinking.
Can I add something to that? So the benefit I like about the trust fund is it's not like an RESP or an RRSP. You've already paid taxes on the money for that year. So when the money comes out, when he does turn 18 or she turns 18, it's tax free. So it is a check with not having to pay any sort of taxes on it because it's already been paid on taxes. Am I correct, Christina?
You are in Canada. However,
Yep.
my son and I have dual citizenship and we have to do American taxes. And he was taxed on that. It was considered, yeah, he was taxed
Really?
on it.
After
Yep.
being paid, after paying taxes on
Yep.
that income?
Yep. Doesn't matter.
Wow.
That's the hard thing about, and quite honestly, I'm not sure I'm going to maintain mine because I didn't live there. I haven't lived there since I was 21, so I don't really have any Social Security to take in. But Eddie, my son, is keeping it open because,
Yeah, work.
you know,
Mhm.
but yes. In fact, also when we sold our house, you can be, I was taxed on capital gains.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's something. Well, that's
It's
another
just
topic.
something for people to know.
Yeah.
And on to that, I just want to say, I really, really emphasize to my parents of minors, open a separate bank account. Their money is their money. You can use it for things like getting them new pictures, or if you have to hire a chaperone because you can't be on set, and that can come out of their salary, but that salary is theirs. And my accountant, who's great for entertainment accounting, suggested when Eddie got his first check at 3 weeks old, he fill out an income tax form so that he could establish RRSP top-offs at an early age. He didn't have to pay anything, but also he could, off of his salary, he could claim if he took a class. So if your child is making money as an actor, and they take coaching and pay from their salary, that's a tax deduction for them. So it does get a little complicated, but I've been doing it for so long that I'm open to those questions too from the Actors Advocate website. Email. So if you're concerned about that.
I was wondering, George, I was wanting to ask you about just some of the practical issues as a performer that you have encountered with accessibility and auditions. I know that you had done that really great sort of audit of casting facilities. But if we could talk about that, and also just accessibility on set, because it's a really great thing to to get the gig, but then what do you encounter when you actually go to set? Can you kind of walk us through how that looks for you?
Yeah. So I find that whenever I'm auditioning for a project, depending on the casting director, a lot of the time, if I can't go into the area that they're doing the auditions or whatever, I end up sending in a self-tape request for that director or for that casting director, because that is the only way that I can be seen for the part, which I'm okay with sometimes, because then it gives me the opportunity to go and get a coach and do my own thing and maybe create a better tape than I would if I went for a live audition. However, I do like the opportunity of going in and getting the direction from a casting director, just because if I don't know what they're looking for, I don't really know how to kind of navigate the audition. Now, I find commercial casting directors tend to be a little more, I like a lot more accessible for me to get into audition and whatever. However, there are a couple of commercial casting directors that I've never auditioned for them, so I wouldn't know. For film and TV, a lot of them are unfortunately not. But I've had a casting director rent out a room at LB Acting Studio in Toronto for me, like Casting Central, so that I could do the callback audition, which I ended up booking the role. And that was actually really nice of them to do that for me. Not a lot of casting directors would do that. They would do it online, or they would have me do a redo on my own time. But what the problem with a lot of casting directors and whatnot is that their office may be in like a very old building and they're not retrofitted for accessibility, which I think is kind of, I feel like they should, but unfortunately, that is not the case in Toronto a lot of the time. So I know of a few that I can go into no problem, but for the majority of them, I can't. And I find it really hard because I want to go out there and audition for a lot of work, but a lot of the time, if a casting director won't see me for the live audition, I don't get the opportunity to do a self-tape or anything like that.
Okay, I was going to ask that. Is your agent able to negotiate the opportunity to do a self-tape for you?
Yeah, my agent, I love him. I'm with Newton Landry Management, and they're really good. And Yannick will fight for me for anything. And then my other agent, Sandy and Raymond, they help me with live theater and any animation work that I do. So they're really good with live theater because live theater is definitely a much more complicated thing. But I've worked with like Drayden, and I've worked with other companies in Ontario that have been actually relatively good for me. But there are a lot of theater companies in Toronto that are quite difficult. But for Yannick, he'll negotiate. If I can't come in for the audition, I will do the self-tape and send that into casting. And if they want me to come in for another audition, they will have me come into like another area where I can come in for the audition if I have to meet the client or if I have to meet the network or anybody like that. And then when I'm working on set, again, Yannick has been very good with negotiating everything from like how I would get there to like what kind of trailer I would get. Because again, a trailer, like a triple banger, like one that a lot of people would be in or whatever, a lot of the time they don't have a ramp and they're whatever. So they have to figure out how to navigate that. So for example, when I was working back in November of 2019, I worked on Hudson and Rex and I got flown out to Newfoundland for it. And they had to figure out how to, when I got on set, like I had my own room that they rented out at a hotel for my change room. And then they had to bring me to where I was doing the shoot for that night. Or like the other day when I was filming before that, they had another room in that area where I had that as my trailer, but it was like my own room and it was great. But he had to negotiate all of that because it can be pretty hard. If you're doing any background work or anything like that, when I was at the beginning of my career, before I had an agent, I was working on a major TV show. I won't name the show, but I had a really bad experience on the show where I was the only actor in a wheelchair who was a special skill for that show, and they kept bringing me in for continuity. And unfortunately, the final day that I was filming with them, that after that I was like, no more. They built an entire new area for background holding and everything, for craft and everything like that. And they didn't build a ramp for any of the new buildings that they had. And people complained to ACTRA Toronto because what happened was I complained to production being like, you called me into work and you don't even have anything where I can go and hang out. And the thing that they did was they built an outdoor tent area right beside a garbage area. And that was where I was hanging out for the entire day while waiting to go on set. And I was there for like a 12-hour day. And I complained, and then ACTRA Toronto came the next day to kind of check on everything. And they had to build a ramp, and they did finally, but I never worked on the show after that. So that was one bad experience. But now that I have an agent and now that I'm a principal actor, a lot of the time they negotiate to make sure that I'm taken care of when I'm working, because if I'm not, then I can't focus on my job properly.
Can I ask a question, because I'm curious? Do you go, and I don't mean to say this and feel like I'm not trying to be ignorant in any way, but are you going for roles specifically for disabled persons?
Yeah, well, a lot of the time, and I get angry a lot of the time. They will only book me for a job when they're a lot of time when they're looking for an actor in a wheelchair, unfortunately. I'm finding it that like it's getting better, but with the whole BIPOC movement and everything like that, I feel like um, the conversation around disability is kind of being ignored a lot of the time, and it's kind of being put under the rug. And I think that productions and agents and everybody have we still have a lot of work to do in terms of making it more inclusive for everybody, because I feel like, and I've talked about it with many different media things that I've done, but you know, anybody can fall in love, anybody can, you know, sell a product and put shampoo in their hair, anyone can be a criminal, anybody can be a lawyer, anybody can be a doctor. So why is that not being put into what they're looking for when they're looking for diversity as a whole for a production? And I think that we have to kind of change that. And then when I do have a role that I book, it's actually getting better, but I don't like it when like my wheelchair is like the main character arc for my storyline. Like it shouldn't be the main thing. It should be the fact that I am the individual who's going through whatever I'm going through in life, and that shouldn't be the main character arc. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people who write or whatever, they don't know because they've never lived that experience. And that is why I really want more people to kind of get the training, get into the industry, so we can have a huge movement and kind of change that. So a lot of people who've actually lived that can do that. Like for example, I don't know if anybody heard about like the movie that Sia is producing about a kid with autism, but she hired a non-actor with autism to play that part, but they did it in a way that was not tasteful at all. And you know, and then you have another production where like you have The Good Doctor, where the lead role is not disabled as well, but yeah, I don't know how they would navigate that, but it can be really difficult. But I think that we have to do a better job of trying to figure out, because there are a lot of talented people in the world that we can definitely incorporate.
I agree.
I think that that's a big part of the conversation, like that there's no reason why the love interest can't be a person of color. There's no reason why, you know, your colleagues in that scene in the office, you know, why you know, some of them couldn't be in wheelchairs or whatever. Like that's what we see in real life, and it's what we should be seeing on our screens.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's what the Dear Everybody movement is all about, right? It's you know, we know that in Canada, 22% of Canadians identify as having disability, and it's our expectation in the Dear Everybody movement that there be 1 in 5 people on screen, whether it's visible or an invisible disability. But we won't stop until that's what we're seeing on screen. And you know, the pressure will mount for the people who are creating media, whether it be film or TV or in print or on the radio. And as I say, we won't stop. We want, you know, when there's a scene of a crowd, we want to be able to we want our kids and society to be able to identify with who they're seeing. And if everyone's, you know, in a, you know, able-bodied and there's no one with a sensory issue or, you know, needing to have headphones on, you know, then we're not seeing the reality. And I think that those who, you know, are here in attendance certainly are living this and passionate about it. So there's a lot of work to be done, you know, and this is a step in all that, in partnering with ACTRA and trying to build up the roster and making sure that when we talk about diversity, that disability isn't being left out of the picture on that. You know, it's an inseparable part of diversity.
Yeah.
And we won't rest as long as that continues to be ignored. We want to see people with disability in every kind of role, and certainly not just cast in roles where that character is pitied or you know, any of that rubbish. It just perpetuates stigma. I mean, obviously, if there is a character in a role and the character has a disability, it's imperative that that actor have that disability. And in the case of The Good Doctor, you know, where Freddie Highmore doesn't have autism, though it's been interesting to see the reaction of the autism community around that, because at first it was, you know, people were so upset that it had happened, and then as production went on and it, you know, and people learned that there's writers with autism, that there are crew members with autism, that there are people all around Freddie with autism, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's, if you're going to do it, you know, that's the way to do it. So, and Freddie, I think, is having the experience of a lifetime, being immersed in the world of autism. So, yeah, we're gonna keep going, and we're gonna keep fighting, and we were so pleased that ACTRA did the audit of the spaces available to performers, and you know, we're talking about a follow-up post-COVID. But what we have also offered at Holland Bloorview is space. So if there is an audition that needs to happen, or meet up with you know, whether it be someone on the film or even a casting director, that can happen at Holland Bloorview. We're making that space available, as long as there is a commitment on the production to be accessible. We understand that there are old buildings in Toronto where, you know, George or Ty, you know, or Zach wouldn't be able to go to, you know, to get up those steps or down the steps to use the bathroom. We know that, and ultimately we want all of those spaces to be accessible for everybody, every space. But in the meantime, we offer accessible space for those activities to happen.
Yeah, it's great to know that those resources are available, and certainly, you know, that's something which, you know, we are now going to be taking forward to producers when they say, oh, well, we have this role. It's like, well, that's not a hurdle necessarily, if you're willing to work with us. And I think it's amazing as well that, you know, when we see, you know, a role in a script that's, you know, that whole character is dismissed in one sentence, but what a performer brings is they bring, you know, they give life to that character. So, you know, whether it's an able-bodied character or, you know, a character in a wheelchair, or whether, you know, it's a character that's written as able-bodied but could just as easily be played by somebody in a wheelchair. You know, it's what the great actors do is, you know, it's that, you know, there are no small parts. They bring a whole truth to that, you know, and they give life to that performance. And, you know, if a production wants to hire, you know, a mannequin in a wheelchair, then they will get the performance they deserve from a mannequin in a wheelchair. The reason they want to hire performers who have experience, life experience that they bring forward, is because it makes that production ring true and it gives it real depth. So I think that's what's so important.
Yeah, and and I find it pretty shocking. Like when I went and did my education at U of T in Sheridan, when I was graduating, they were telling me like, you're the only one we've ever trained in a wheelchair. And it kind of um I was pretty shocked by that, because I didn't know really, like I felt the need to want to kind of inspire young people to go out there and do it, because I feel like we really need better representation. And it was even something different for Sheridan, because they had to kind of figure out how to navigate me into their curriculum, or into like how they would direct a play or anything like that. And they had to even like renovate the theater so that I could use the change room a little bit or whatever. But they wanted me to be a part of it, because they're like, you have the talent to do the training, and we really wanted to do it. But it was really like quite an eye opener with the lack of representation. And I think a lot of the time children didn't, or youth in general don't, or even parents don't know where to turn. I remember I one time did a talk, and a lot of people had no idea that they even had a professional training program in college or in university. They're like, we never even knew that you could do that. And you can audition for them, and you can kind of break the barrier and the stigma around it. And I think that, yeah, we got to continue fighting for it.
George, I'll just tell you, at Humber, in the diploma program, last year we had a girl named Sydney in a wheelchair, and her twin sister, who was able-bodied, was taking the comedy program.
Mm-hmm.
Sydney ended up being by far our best performer. Like, she blew our minds. She didn't come back for the second year because, I don't know if everyone remembers, it was in the paper, but there was a horrible house fire and they lost their house, they lost everything. They're all fine. But we've been advocating, all of us professors, to get her an agent, because she is amazing. And I did have, when the college had more money, they had a program called dual credit. So it was to encourage graduating high school students to go on to secondary training, and they get a credit. And I taught them theory and practice of acting for film and television. I had a young man in a wheelchair that had no upper body movement. He was amazing. Nothing stopped him. I had a lot of different spectrum on the autism spectrum, and a friend of mine, I encouraged him to take the class, and he just blossomed. It's such a wonderful art form for, to develop self-esteem, and to develop not only self-esteem, but courage, and be supported. And you made me think of Sydney. And we also had a girl, I wanted to mention, Amanda Vanessa. Are you familiar with her, Claire? She took the course at Humber years ago, I think maybe 10 years ago. And she's hearing impaired. And she's gone on to have a fantastic career. She's very good at lip reading. And I was teaching her for about 3 months, George, and I didn't notice anything until I said, we're going to do an exercise. You need to close your eyes and I'll talk you through it. And she said, I'd like to keep my eyes open. And I said, well, it's really important in this exercise to close your eyes and really focus. And she said, well, if I close my eyes, I won't be able to know what you're saying because I read lips.
Wow.
And I was like, what? Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, she has played people with that affliction. She was on Murdoch Mysteries and played Helen Keller. Mm-hmm. But she also coached on the Shape of Water. If you remember that film, the lead son, she was the coach. But she's done lots of parts where it wasn't an issue.
Wow.
So I like to share hopeful stories for the people. I can't see you, but I really like to share hopeful stories and say, it is hard, it is tough, but it's an amazing art form, and I think it does so much for confidence building and collaborating. getting up in front of people. I've seen children with like that were crying, clinging onto their parents, come into my class, and in like 8 weeks, they're the chattiest, boldest person in the room. It's you've got to have that support, and I'm so glad you got it at Sheridan.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I did too. And like, I've had a lot of hopeful things happen in my career already. Like I remembered when I booked working with Drayden, and I was doing their production of A Few Good Men. There's no like guy in a wheelchair in that part or in that play. But David and them, they all, like the people that are in charge of the company, they wanted me to be a part of their show. And I got to work with an incredible director. I got to work with Marty Meriden. And I loved her. And then I got to work with like some incredible actors like Benedict Campbell and Tyrone Savage and a bunch of like huge Stratford people, and they were all very supportive. And even though I had two pretty minor parts because I was only starting off with the company, it was like one of the first times that I really felt like they were booking me for my talent, and like the wheelchair did not matter at all. And they were really like they really loved having me, and it was really great to work with all of them. So yeah, I definitely have had my fair share of, like, even with working with Holland Bloorview with the Dear Everybody campaign, or I've worked with Scotiabank for a commercial with them where they, again, it had nothing to do with my wheelchair. Like I've had a lot of fun with a lot of different productions and whatnot, and I think that it's changing and it will only get better from here.
Yeah, I think that's what our goal is. It's to, shift that perception that, oh, it's too difficult, it's impossible. And, for our part, we're always looking to advocate for these young performers who want to do this stuff, and make sure that, those hurdles, that those perceived hurdles are considered and evaluated and dismissed, because there are ways for productions to for producers to accommodate and to, if what they want on their screen is to have an authentic and realistic and a cast that is reflective of society, then they will work towards that. And ultimately what they want is to have the right person and the best person in a role, and they will move mountains to make that happen. Okay, are there any other questions from our visitors today? If we have no more questions.
Claire,
Yeah?
can we just type in for them my, oh, Lisa, that's wonderful. That I think they all have my email address for the child advocacy.
Yeah, and I intend to kind of package together some resources with you to send
That would be
to
great.
folks. Yeah,
That would be great. Okay.
Yeah, and we'll include all of that.
Okay, all right then. And Christine, I don't know, did we share with you the link to the Protecting Child Performers Act and the Robin Baruchel's book, the Stage Parent Survival Guide?
The link to the child performers, I'm not sure about the child guide, but we'll make sure that that's included.
Okay, I will forward those to you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank you so much for accommodating this, and I look forward to doing this again and regularly, so that we can just change the landscape, right? Yeah. And let families know that they are welcome to be part of this world, and more importantly, that their kids are. And we appreciate the support of ACTRA, and thank you to George for being here. This wouldn't have been right without you, and to Sandra. And, you know, we will make a change. We
Yeah,
will make
I
this
look forward
different
to
together. Yeah.
I look forward to us doing it in person sometime in the future.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Sandra Gillis. Your insights were tremendous, and George as well. The insight from your personal experiences really, impacted me today, and I hope it's given some inspiration to the guests on this session. And thank you, as always, Christina, for your insight. Okay, and Christine, thank you.
My pleasure.
This, Christine.
Thank you, everybody. George, you're going to stay. I'm going to show you a picture of Eddie.
Okay.
I'm going to share my screen, I guess, when they.
Okay, thank you.
Can I do that? Or is she going to close it? Let me just.
Can you pull that up?
Yep.
Oh, yay.
Okay, have a look.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Can you see it? Is that weird?
We're like, wow.
Yeah.
Look at that. This one particularly.
Yeah.
Your smile,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You have to meet each other.
Definitely.
That's just weird. Okay, sorry. I'm not going to take up any more of your time.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
journeys. Sandra,
Okay.
why don't you get older?
Oh, really?
Holy crap. You look like you're 12.
Oh,
All right.
you're funny, Christina. Oh my God, that's funny. Oh, it's just the screen. Come on.
Yeah, but my
George,
screen doesn't do that.
No. George, you have a big responsibility. You need to get in that writing room and make some scripts. You've got to create some work.
Hey, George, Eddie just did a short film that won finalist consideration in some, and it's a great little film. He worked on it. He did it through ACTRA. He raised the money, and he's now going to sports broadcasting school. He graduates in April. So you should get your heads together and create something.
Wow.
He's a really good writer and producer.
I would love that.
I'll join you up, okay?
Yeah. Like I did a minor in professional writing when I went to U of T. So I do enjoy writing a lot. And I would love to finally, yeah, I really want to.
Yeah.
But thank you, everyone.
Yes,
Okay,
you too. You too.
George, are you connected with YA as well?
Yeah, you should. YEAA.
The Young Emerging Actors Assembly.
I think I am. Yeah.
Okay.
That's who helped Eddie get his production off the ground, and he used all ACTRA members. So
they are so proactive in terms of like making co-ops and that sort of thing.
Yeah, they're hustlers.
Yeah.
And just, but in terms of like having a group of like-minded people who could, work with you in kind of, as you say, like kind of like creating a script where it's not about the guy in the wheelchair.
Yep.
Or about the wheelchair with the guy in it.
You and Eddie could do a script about being twins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, true.
Anyway, I've got to go. My dog's going crazy.
All right, guys. Take care.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.